Next up, what's driving a young millionaire to get on the hustings and rattle some old colleagues? Colin Craig, the millionaire properties manager, is beginning to be a familiar face in political circles. In 2009, he organised a protest march for democracy. Then he stepped up to run unsuccessfully in the race for the Auckland mayoralty. Next, he was funding the polling that helped Don Brash take over as leader of ACT, and John Banks, Craig's rival in the mayoralty race, into his selection as ACT's candidate for the seat of Epsom. Now, he's starting his own party, the Conservatives, and he's talking about standing against Banks himself. But what makes him run, and where's he going? Darren Shannon has been talking to the latest millionaire who wants to be in Parliament.
Colin Craig, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Why, out of all the names that are available, did you decide to call this new party of yours Conservative?
Two good reasons. Number one, I think Conservative is a recognised political tradition around the world. Obviously the UK is run by a Conservative party, Canada is run by a Conservative party. So there's a certain tradition established there already. And that's a tradition that I feel very comfortable with, as do a number of supporters. And secondly, we did do polling. We went out, we asked New Zealanders the name that would be meaningful to them. And surprising to some, but actually Conservative is a word that New Zealanders are comfortable with.
What were the other choices that you gave them when polling?
Well, I won't go into all the other choices, but we talked about Vision New Zealand, possibly. We talked about sort of a new New Zealand party or something along those lines. So those were some of the other options that we looked at.
A new New Zealand party?
Yeah, as in there had been a New Zealand party before.
Did you put anything in terms of Christianity in any of the titles?
No, because I wasn't interested in starting a Christian party, so no, we didn't look at that.
So when you were standing for mayor, I thought it was interesting that in one of the interviews you gave, you said, I don't represent a particular political perspective.
No.
I'm just a spoiler, really, between the other candidates. Is that still
well,
your position?
I didn't use the word spoiler, obviously. I have never been a member of a political party until now.
Never?
Never, no.
Have you voted before?
I have voted in every election.
Are you prepared to say who you voted for?
Well, I voted for a variety of parties, actually. I didn't see myself as a supporter of any particular, I guess, version of politics. But I have started forming, in the last perhaps 2 to 3 years, some pretty firm ideas in my own mind of what makes a good country. And that's really has, I guess, given me an alignment. And I do feel very comfortable being labelled a Conservative and standing for what I think are Conservative policies.
What made you interested in politics in the first place? I mean, you know,
look,
you work in a business where you make lots of money.
Yes, I do.
Why politics, which is a road to ruin for some?
Yes, and I will be walking away from something that I really love. I enjoy business and I've done very well in it, and so it is a sacrifice in that sense. But I'm very much driven by my own frustration and the frustration of others over government just not doing what people want. Now, it's possible, I suppose, that people are wrong, but I think in a democracy, a government doesn't get to say that. They've got an obligation to do what the people ask them to do. So that's my core motivation, and of course, following on from that is because I got involved, I organised a protest march, I then ran for the mayoralty, I ended up with all these people who are supporters. And they really were, I guess, asking, the odd one was demanding, that I do something, that I not sit back, but that I keep involved. And I took that as quite a serious responsibility, so that's a big factor.
But who are these so-called people that are supporting you?
Well, I mean,
there's nobody else on your site except you at the moment.
No, and we won't be revealing our candidates until such time as we've got the 500 members.
Have you got the 500 members yet?
No, we've only just started, obviously, last week. There's a lot of mail come through with registration forms, so we're well on our way. But obviously, the more people that join, the better.
So how many have joined by this stage?
I don't actually know the number, but I mean, yeah, I'd be guessing. But I would say we're easily probably 100. So we're well on our way, given that that's just a few days' mail. But
you haven't got long to go.
No, we don't. No, we don't, and we need to get there by the end of the month. But the booklet that outlines our policies with the membership form to join up is in the mail this week. to New Zealand households, so everyone then will have an opportunity to fill in that
And
form
you talk
join.
about it going nationwide. Is that going to go nationwide, that booklet?
Yeah, it'll go out in every newspaper, either local newspaper or for sale kind of newspaper, so it'll be right out there. We'll hit close to 1.2 million households.
That's quite an expensive exercise, isn't it?
It is, but I think this is an expensive business, if we're going to be perfectly blunt. And also, it's important to get the message out to all New Zealanders, because that's where I'm targeting. I'm saying, well, look, we're about all New Zealanders, not just a select group. So
I know, but a lot of people say you're unrealistic at this stage in the game when you've got the election coming up in November, you've got the World Cup and all those things in between, to even be thinking of going national.
Yeah, I find it interesting that people, I don't know whether they've ever tried, perhaps they have and failed, but the reality is the campaign proper is 3 months long. We're getting information out before that campaign period, and we'll be campaigning through the period the same as every other political party. So yes, we've got some hurdles to cross, but that's the challenge, and we will run, I think, a very, very credible campaign.
You're going to stand where? Are you prepared to say that yet?
No,
You've talked about Epsom.
Well, I've been asked a lot about Epsom. It's not a decision that's made yet.
How do you make that decision?
Well, I think there's two things that make it for us. Number one will be response and membership within electorates. And the reality is we will be following up with some more polling soon. And polling is significant because I'm going to run where I can win. And Epsom, at
You
this
actually
stage,
believe
it's a
that
tough
you'll
one.
win a seat?
I do.
At Epsom, for example, you'd be up against John Banks for one,
Correct.
and he really thrashed you in the mayoral campaign. I mean, you got 40,000 votes.
Yeah.
Not a lot, really.
Yeah, well, closer to 45 if we're going to be really fair.
I'll
And I'll
give you
take those
45.
extra. And I'll take those extra ones. Yes, he did. And obviously, the mayoral campaign was very much a National and Labor Party affair. They were on TV, I wasn't. And John Banks.
You
as
did
well
get
as
some exposure on television.
Yeah, I never got on any of the debates, unlike, say, Andrew Williams, who was a North Shore mayor. He did. And I would have liked that opportunity, other than the debate which John Banks refused to turn up to.
Let's just look at ACT for a moment. You looked as if you were going to start a new party with the now leader, Don Brash, of the ACT party. What happened to that?
Yeah, there was no agreement, I guess, between Don Brash and I.
Did
on
he
a
want
couple
your
of
money?
issues. I don't think so. I don't.
But it
think
seems
that
they
it
still
came
want
into-
your money, ACT party, at the moment.
Well, I don't think they do. I mean, they did ask, and that's fine. I think anyone's entitled to ask. Other parties have asked as well, so that doesn't put ACT in any special boat, in my view. I certainly don't have anything against the ACT party or Don Brash, and no, I don't think it was about money. I think probably he genuinely was looking for someone that was a bit younger, and I think fair enough. And it's important to bring younger people into politics. Some would say, oh, well, gee, you're only 43. I mean, it's looking like you've got to be retired now to join that club. But I take the view that gives me plenty of time ahead of me to make an impact.
Just go back to Epsom. If you stood in Epsom, there are a lot of people there who are feeling as if they're being toyed with by the electoral rigmarole
Yes, that's
this year.
true.
And do you think that you would go down well as yet another vote splitter?
Let's say that I have a good base of support in Epsom, and I know that.
So that's probably where you will...
Whether it's enough to overhaul John Banks, that's another question. And whether, at the end of the day, I decide to stand there when I have other areas, particularly, say, the North Shore of Auckland, where I'm well known and well supported. Those are all things that are going to come into... And I will also have to talk this through once we've got the members and we get a, finalise a campaign board. I'm going to need to talk with them, and it's going to be a group decision, not an individual decision.
So who are these people that you talk to? Who do you go? Who's your little committee at the moment?
Well, I mean, I've got a campaign team. Most of them are people who helped me in the mayoralty.
So it's the same team that's come across?
Yeah, everyone that helped me in the mayoralty put their hand up and said, look, we'll gladly help you again, which I thought was fantastic. We will build membership, and out of that membership we will select, these are the people that run the board, just like any other political party.
Have you got many young people? Are you looking for young people?
Yes, and the reality is we'll probably be quite a young team.
What about Maori and Polynesian and Asian representation in your party? How strong is that going to be?
I think it'll be quite strong. I don't want to give anything away, nor do I want to presume when we haven't got to the point of selecting candidates, but I believe that actually we'll probably show a very multicultural face, and I'm quite pleased about that.
You're a Christian.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a churchgoer?
No, I'm not actually.
You're
No,
not?
no, I'm not a churchgoer. Although I should say not a regular churchgoer. I mean, I attend church now and again for funerals and occasional services and so on. But
So if you, when you go to church, which church do you go to?
none in particular. I don't have any affiliation.
You
so
just float around between?
yeah, if someone invited me out to church, or there was a funeral or a function or whatever, I'd sort of just go to whatever church that is.
Were you brought up in a church?
Yeah, I was. My family, we went to church every Sunday when I was brought up.
And what church did you go to?
That was a local Baptist church.
I see, yeah.
And I look back on that and I'm glad that I had that experience, and I think it was helpful. And I'm quite happy with having, I guess, traditional values, relaxed about
They're
that.
very
It worked
traditional,
for
aren't they?
me.
You don't approve of sex before marriage or
Well, I didn't
cohabitation.
choose to do that, no.
But
because
do you
I felt that was
then
beneficial.
feel people who do choose to do that they're wrong, that there's something wanting in there?
I think if it was someone I knew well, I would question why they were doing that as opposed to say not. But I don't see it. I'm not kind of some policeman to go around and sort of rule other people's lives, and I don't see that as actually helpful. Nor do I think, I mean, it's not certainly nothing to do with party policy, and I think generally governments make quite bad moral lecturers anyway.
But what about homosexual law reform? I mean, do you agree with civil union?
I think in some respects, yes. Do I believe that we should have spent such a huge amount of time on it?
But no,
and
but
had
it's
the great
here now.
debate?
You're not
Now
going to do
it's-
anything.
No,
Your party's not
yeah,
going to try and
no.
get
I'll
up.
be just
What
as-
about
just as
abortion? Where do you
pointless
stand
to
on
change
that?
it. I think we have too many, given that.
So
I have
what
no
would you do?
problem
Would
with-
you-
I have no problem with the existing law actually, but I don't believe that. I think it's 18,000 plus abortions per year. I'm not sure that they're all absolutely medically necessary.
So would your party be encouraging some change in the law, or just a change in the way it's applied?
I think it's about how the current law is applied. I think most people actually are comfortable with the existing law as such, which, you know, says if the mother's health is jeopardised, then it's an acceptable option. But I don't think people would generally agree with the way it's applied. I think there'd be pretty much broad support that that's just too many abortions in a year.
In your policies that you have stated that your party is going to pursue, amongst them are things like you're going to cut back in social welfare, that, you know, there's got to be work for payment.
Yeah, that's...
How can that possibly work when we've got people who cannot work or no jobs?
Yeah, I think in the booklet that comes out this week, which I encourage people to read, there's quite a lot of discussion around that. Now, to tackle those two questions, the first one was, you know, how can you get people back into work? Well, we're not the only, you know, country in the world or jurisdiction that's facing that challenge. Other places have been successful. It can be done. And I think we have to face the reality we haven't got it right, particularly amongst youth. You know, 26, 27% of the youth who are looking for work unemployed. Really bad long-term path that we're on there. These young people, they need jobs. They need to get started so they can have a successful working career for their own sake, even if not for the taxpayer.
Well, if you do get in, we'll get you back to talk more about your policies.
Love
but at
to.
this stage, I just want to know, as a young politician, and, you know, a man who's got a lot of money, you're a new breed of politician, and you're computer savvy, I take it.
A little bit.
Why is it that ACT's got 635 followers on Twitter, John Banks has got 866,
Yeah.
Donkey's got 25,000,
Oh, he's a popular man, isn't
and you've got 48.
Well, I reckon it's because we just started last week. In short, I think you probably find their pages have been up longer. That's what I would say.
You put it down to that.
I do.
All right.
Well,
Colin.
that'll change over time.
Colin, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Darren Shanahan with Colin Craig, founder of the New Conservative Party. That's it from us tonight. Thanks for your company. We'll be back with more Newsmakers, same place, same time next week. Till then, go safely and good night.